Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show. And this episode is the winner of last month's Patreon vote. Every month our patrons get to vote between 4 films in a theme usually. The theme this time was Dario Argento, and the winner was Tenebre, which we are going to talk about today. So that's what we're going to do. Tim, how are you? What's happening? What's hip? What's hopping?
Oh geez. I'm pretty used to LA driving at this point, but yesterday freaking almost broke me. I basically got stuck between my home and a parade that was going through, and it took me no joke hours to get the 2 miles to my house. It was insane. It's my fault because if I would have, I don't know, known that it was going on, I would have said, okay, I'll save these errands for tomorrow or next weekend or whatever. But I didn't realize, so I just went out, and then the thing is, it sucks because it's one of those things where you reach that point where you're stuck with everybody. So it's not like you just get somewhere and you're like, oh, this is blocked off, let me turn around and I'll get back on the highway and do a big sweep. It's like, oh no, I'm stuck, but now I'm stuck in between 2 lanes where everyone is stuck and no one's going anywhere, no one's letting you in on anything, and it's just you gotta sit back and be like, oh
I don't know. I thought you'd start the show peppy. I thought I'll hand it to Tim. He'll start with a peppy story, and I got traffic's depressing. It took so long to get home.
It was my one. I worked overtime yesterday too, so I'd already been coming off a 5-hour shift and was just tired and not happy.
Did you at least have a podcast to listen to? You weren't just sitting there miserable in silence, were you?
Oh, I was with my roommate, so depends on
even worse.
If you like them.
Even worse.
I like them enough. So
Tenebre.
Yeah.
Dario Argento's film about an author who wrote a book called Tenebre about killings, about murders. And...
Hold on a second. You keep going, but I'll be right back.
Okay, Tim's left me on my own to describe. This is bizarre. There's a cat. Hey, cat. The audio people can't see the cat, but there's a cat in Tim's bed, wagging his tail at me. So yes, Tenebre.
I just wanted to close my door. The cats threw it open.
So Tenebre is about an author who wrote a horror story. And he comes to Rome for publicist reasons. He's there to promote the book. He's there to promote. Yeah. His agent's played by John Saxon, the legend that he is.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, John Saxon, get out of town. Also, I couldn't believe I had to do a double take because the author's name was Peter, so I had to look it up. I'm like, it's not Peter, is it? But no, it was just some guy.
Yeah, 1982, before I was born, Tim, yes. Yeah, you were mixing him up. He was already in his 50s in 1982, and you were confusing him with me. He's probably dead by now.
Well, I mean, what are you now, early 50s, or?
Yes, I'm pushing 50, Tim. I look good for my age. So, shut your face. You shut your face, Mr. Mid-30s.
Oh, early 30s. Come on now. Early. 32 is not mid.
All right. Math. I would have argued. If you said 33, I'd have argued. 33, I think, is debatable.
What? No, 35, middle. Do you not know how the idea of middle works?
Tim, you're not just in the mid-30s for 1 year. You're in your mid-30s for a period of time.
It's early 30s, 1 year of middle, no, and then late.
No. 33 to 37 is mid-30s.
No way. I'll give you 4, 5, and 6. That's middle. Because then otherwise then what is early or late? That's nothing.
Early's 30 to 32.
No.
Late is 38 to 39. Oh, maybe 37 as well.
I will see how you feel once you hit 33 and you'll change your tune.
I probably will, but when I'm 33, Tim, you'll be in your late 30s, so you can suck it.
Okay.
And there'll be no debating with that. Because we just drew the lines. Anyway, so author named Peter, as we've clearly established at this point, and of course killings start happening. Young women in the city of Rome start dying, and notes get sent to the author afterwards, implying that his book is the inspiration, or that he is in some way the infatuation of the killer. And of course there's a police investigation and more killings happening. It's a giallo film, and it's very stylish. Lots of very kind of synthy music, lots of long camera shots, that kind of thing. It also has the traditional Italian thing. Now, obviously, there's some American actors in here, but it has the thing where it's clearly all dubbed, and obviously, John Saxon dubbing his own voice looks pretty good. Like it works fine.
Looks very good.
But there's other cast members who are not necessarily dubbing their own voice, and it it's a little bit spotty. But that's just kind of par for the course with their films from Italy this time period, in this genre especially. So it's the same if you go back to the spaghetti westerns, like a lot of those movies, which are Italian. That's what they're called, spaghetti, Tim.
I am aware. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tim, you'd seen this before, I assume.
You know what? I'm not sure. Parts of it did seem familiar. Yeah, I think I did see it before. I couldn't recall though. It's if I did, it's been a while.
Yeah. Also, if anyone's like wondering, oh, I'm surprised Tenebrae won and not Suspiria. Suspiria wasn't in the vote because Suspiria is getting a remake later in the year, so we're going to just do the original before the remake comes out. So that's happening later in the year. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
but
we're
Tenebrae
not remaking it, but we will be watching it.
Yes, we're not the ones remaking it. That is true.
Just to be clear.
Tim's hitting with some straight facts. His mid-30s definition's a bit spotty, but the facts here cannot be disputed. So, Tim, do you enjoy Tenebrae? Do you like it?
I did. So, as you know, I'm the biggest Argento fan on the podcast, and I
between two people, Tim, that's not that much of a statement.
Just for the record, and yeah, so I like him a lot. I enjoyed this, but I do feel like it was like it definitely wasn't up to maybe the usual standard I hold him in. Like everything felt like it was there, just maybe not to the degree that I wanted it. Like there definitely was like some bright, vibrant color style there, but not like all the time. Like a lot of this stuff was in the daylight, and kind of just looked maybe like a little bland from time to time. And then like the story, I actually wasn't super fond of. Like I think it starts off good, and it's an okay enough murder mystery, but then I feel like the ending is just kind of like that's all right, that's the reveal. I wasn't too crazy about it, but I mean, I loved the. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say that is pretty bad shit. Just to throw that in.
But there is, I mean, it is certainly very giallo. There is like some really cool stuff with that I like, and the obviously the violence and the gore is really really good. In particular, there's this one, let's just say, limb chopping scene that was just fantastic. But yeah, overall, I would say I did like it quite a bit. But I was hoping I was gonna like just love it, and I would say I wasn't quite there.
I liked it quite a bit. Probably a little bit more than you did. I would put this, in a reasonable place on his filmography, the ones I've seen, because
sure.
I don't love all of his movies that I've seen. There's a couple that I'm not like. I wasn't so keen on Inferno when I saw it. It's been a while, admittedly, but so I couldn't even tell you what I didn't like about it now. But
I remember that one being, unfortunately, like a little slow. I really like the ending in Inferno, but the build up is kind of lacking.
But so some movies that I'm not so keen on. There's some that I really like. I really like Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Deep Red's pretty good. Cat o' Nine Tails is pretty good.
You won't shut up about Dracula 3D.
What? Shut up. Nothing to do with this. Shut up. So, Tenebrae I think is pretty good. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of critiques that I'll make, especially when we get to spoilers and we talk about the plot, and we talk about some really bizarre like character decisions, some really bizarre lines of dialogue. There's definitely this weird sheen of like people don't act like this. The logic of human beings is not aligned with what the logic is in this movie. But I think that's actually kind of typical of the genre of giallo specifically.
Yeah, you get that with giallo a lot.
Yeah,
but yeah, to this though, it feels like a little bit to the like umph degree where you're like, something about this feels like maybe a little more unusual than what you would get in like the standard giallo film.
And I do agree the plot and the reveal is a little bit iffy, but I never really come to giallo films for the plot. The plot tends to always suck.
True.
Right?
Fair.
It
Yeah.
tends to always suck. What makes giallo films usually good is the style, the music, the kill scenes, the violence. Those are the elements that make it work. How it's directed, and I think on those fronts, this delivers quite a bit.
I was a little like not super pumped on the music. Like it wasn't bad, but it didn't seem very noticeable to me for the most part. I mean, maybe because it's like, when you're used to stuff like, like the music in Suspiria or something, which is just like wow, that's like.
Well, sure, like it's not necessarily the best soundtrack in any Argento movie, but I think it really works. It's got this pulse to it. I like how the kill scenes are handled. Because
Great, yeah.
I think it's interesting that they have kind of the murder mystery thing where you never see the killer's face; it's just the hand. And sometimes I don't think those are as satisfying as when we just have like a Michael Myers or whatever who we can see doing the deed, right?
Yeah, especially when it's like, if that's the point of the movie and that like this is kind of all you're gonna see up until the end.
Yeah. However, I feel like giallo is the genre that makes it work better. I feel like they do we don't know who the killer is and we're seeing it from POV or whatever, and it kind of works. Not that POV can't work. See the Maniac remake for how good a POV serial killer movie can be, because it
That's
can.
true, yeah.
And we need to do that in the show at some point. That is...
Have we not done it?
We've not done either of
gosh.
them. Either the original or the remake of Maniac.
I've actually never seen the original, so
It's also good. I might see the remake, like, oh, I really like the original. What's the point of remake? This is going to be stupid. And then, like, 5 minutes into it, I'm like, this is amazing. What is this the whole movie? Is the whole movie POV? Holy shit. So yeah, those are movies that we should do at some point. But the kill scenes work for me. It does have that giallo quirkiness. You do have friendly faces like John Saxon. There is like this odd thing where I feel like people don't react to the fact that people have been murdered enough. Like everything seems so casual and still kind of calm and friendly, even after murders have happened. And it's like, this is bizarre. This is like, otherwise say it's like it's not like Tommy Wiseau levels of like bizarre, but it's like still it's weird, especially when it gets to the point where people that the author knows have started dying, and it's still just like the killer struck again. Would you like a cognac, dear? Like it's very I don't know, it's bizarre. Very polite. It's a very polite giallo film.
Like they kind of like treat it almost like they know they're in like the way people watching like a murder TV show would be trying to like figure out the clues and figure out who it is. They almost treat it like that as opposed to like real life.
Yeah. The horror of people actually getting murdered does not get that's not there at all. It's just but no, I got into the movie. I think this one holds up quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's not like, don't get me wrong. I still think it's good. And I definitely liked it more than just like an okay movie. It was just again, huge Argento fan, so I was like sitting down expecting to be like, oh yeah, like can't wait. And then I was just kind of like, all right, that's good.
Would I upset you if I told you I like this more than Phenomena?
I think you're crazy, but because I'll tell you one thing for sure. This movie don't have no chimp in it. So
that is true. There's no chimp. I can confirm that.
I think there was one thing you forgot to mention with giallo movies. A big important factor in them is they got to be sexy. And
they got to be sexy, or more specifically, they got to be sleazy. They got to be sleazy.
Yeah.
Yes, there's definite sleaze in this.
Some good sleazy moments. In particular, a very good like, ooh, this feels trashy, but it's also kind of beautiful. The high heel scene I thought was like, ooh.
Which high heel? There's multiple high heel scenes. Are we talking about the flashback?
Okay. Yeah, flashback. Yeah.
Flashback. Okay.
Which takes place in Rhode Island. Shout out to my home state.
Yes, but all the good serial killers come from.
It just seemed like a weird thing to be like. I was like, oh, why is this in Rhode Island? All right.
It also it didn't seem like Rhode Island when it was in the flash. It was almost like a sunny paradise whenever it went in the flashback.
Yeah,
it was
like, I mean, Rhode Island, it is the ocean state, so like we do have beaches and stuff, but they're not very nice. Like I guess maybe it's supposed to be like a ritzy Newport Beach area or something, but it didn't really.
Yeah, it felt like Hawaii or something like that whenever it cut back to it. Like they're on vacation in some tropical wonderland. It's like, this is propaganda. This is in Italy. They were trying to sell tickets to Rhode Island for vacation, so they're like, here, come to Rhode Island, a paradise amongst men.
Yeah. Now they probably just lean too heavily on like the Family Guy connection or something.
Oh God! Can't come to Rhode Island, the home of Peter Griffin.
Yeah. Yeah, another Peter that I had to be like, wait a minute, is this okay? No, very good.
Tim, it's a common name. You're gonna have to get over this. Like, how do you think it is for me? Every time I hear about it, stuck in a well. Little Timmy down the well. It's always down the well.
Oh. Oh, I thought we had like a different like at first I thought you were saying like Peters get stuck down wells a lot. So I was like, oh wait a minute, is this a like a I don't know, a different like a different thing about where we grew up? Like you get a lot of Peters, we get a lot of Timmys over here.
No.
I got you.
Yeah, you're going down a weird path there. So, yes, Tenebrae. This how are we almost 20 minutes? I feel like we've barely spoken about anything in the movie. So, so yeah, there's nudity, there's sleaze. In fact, there's one particular scene where both the women's tops are just kind of see-through, and you can see the nipples, and it's just like, okay, sure. And what's even bizarre is that they heavily imply that this is a lesbian couple, right? And okay, fine, right? But then one half of them, like one of the women in the couple, also likes to have casual sex with men and tells the other not to get jealous. The whole thing just feels like a sleazy porn movie. Like, it's just...
Oh, sure.
You know, this is not necessarily real life. This is just, in a porn movie, I like a man too. So we'll have the lesbian scene, then we'll have the straight sex scene, then we'll go back and forth. Maybe there'll be a threesome at the end. You know, there'll be the whole all the matchings possible that we could possibly do.
Yeah, you don't want anyone. You don't want any viewer to feel left out. Like.
Sure. Yeah, because I'm sure actual gay women watch this and go, yes, this speaks to me and my experience in life. Yes.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. So much so that the one who's having sex with the man says, "Don't come home for an hour. I'm going to have sex with him."
I mean, it's Rome. What do you want? I'm sure.
Because it's like because she's not happy about it, but it's like, no, I'm going to tell you, I'm about to cheat on you, so don't come home for an hour.
Yeah, it's good to know. I didn't know that was an option.
Tim, you're about to get married, so I'm telling you this. I need you to understand that this is not okay.
Okay, right, just making sure.
Honey, don't come home. I've got company.
Listen, I saw it in an Argento movie. Okay.
I'll put a sock in the front door.
Yeah. Oh God.
Anyway, so I will give the spoiler warning so we can talk about the plot and let's go happen. So full spoilers for Tenebrae. I want to make a strange complaint about the start because the movie starts with the Peter character coming. He's in the airport and he's on his way to Rome, and at one point he gets a phone call. His ex-fiancee girlfriend is like on the phone at the airport, and I thought it was bizarre that she called the airport like she would know he was there at that exact moment, but. He goes over to answer the phone, and he leaves his bag in this weird place because he hears his name over the tannoy. Like, oh, can Peter Neal come to the desk? There's a message for you. And he comes, and he's sort of behind other people at the front desk. Mm-hmm. And they're all talking to who's working at the airport. And he's like, oh, is there a phone call for me? He's like, oh, you can take it over there. And for some reason, he drops his bag behind like three people who are like at the front desk. It's like it's the most awkward place ever because it's like they're going to like, either trip over it when they come back. You're leaving it out in the open, and because this is what I don't get. There is no reason why he doesn't just carry it over with him to where he picks up the phone. Like, where he goes is completely empty. There's no reason for him not to take his bag there. It's bizarre. He just drops it for the plot's sake of it kind of goes missing for like 30 seconds, and then later on we find out it's been, someone's been inside it and tampered with everything, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is famous author Peter we're talking about, he's not carrying his own bag around, all the time. Like that's.
You're saying he's inexperienced in how to handle one's bags. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yeah, he probably has like, people waiting on his like beck and call to carry his bags for him. He probably, isn't used to having to do that by himself.
So. Another thing I want to say about, so the first murder, so he's still on the plane and he's on his way there, and the first murder is this shoplifter, this young woman who is caught shoplifting. She's actually looking at his book Tenebre in the store.
To be fair, she was gonna pay for it. I don't. I
She
don't.
she's casually slips it into her bag, into her handbag, and makes her way to the door and gets caught. I love how the store, like, you know, the security guy, he's actually like, we get like a POV shot of him looking at her through the shelves as if it's the serial killer watching her, but it's actually just him like, is she a shoplifter? I think she is. But so
Yeah,
here's
like it sucks for this woman that not only is she like about to be stalked by a serial killer, but like also like, yeah, you got the security guard, you got the weird homeless guy. Like this woman just can't catch a break.
Oh yeah, there's a long line of incidents with this woman before we actually get to the murder. Because at first she gets caught shoplifting. He's like, "Okay, come to my office now, miss." And she sits there. And here's what. So basically, this scene is that she says, why don't you drop this? Let me go. Don't like report me because I've been reported before for shoplifting. I'll give you my address for later," implying she's exchanging sex for being let off the hook. Right now, that's not like a weird concept, right? What I think is
I'd say it is.
well, it's weird to do in real life. And what I'm saying is it's just not like an unheard of thing. Is like using sex to bargain someone's way out of trouble, right? Like,
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked to see that in a movie. What I think is wonderfully weird about this scene is how like professional and casual it all feels. Because she says, "I'll give you my address for later." Understand? It's like, "Oh, in that case, where do you live?" And she's like, "Oh, here." It's like, "Oh, well, very well then. I'll see you later," and they shake hands. And I'm like, it's like he doesn't react. He doesn't react as if he's shocked that she's offering this. He doesn't like go, "Oh yes," and get all sleazy. It's done with the most, I don't know, tactful like exchange. It's like two businessmen have just agreed upon a deal. It's weird.
Yeah. And then it was at that point that you immediately went to your computer and started looking up flights to Rome.
I'd also have to get a job as a security guard before I could get in on this action. Let's just keep that in mind. But it's so weird how this should be the sleaziest scene in the movie. Is like her like trying to tempt him into sex and him be like, "Oh yeah, I'll let you off the hook for sex," and somehow it feels so like casual. Like it's like it's like she's just sold him a used car. It's weird. I don't.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Whatever. These sexual prudes need to get over themselves, and just hey, if you like sex, if you want to own it, use it to your advantage. I say good on you. That's
Who are the prudes? Who are you talking about? I'm confused. Anyway, so yeah, she's on her way home. She catches like a bike ride home, and she's walking to her house, and this is just like maybe like 50 feet from her gate to get into her house. There's like a boarded fence up, right? And as she's walking past, this arm just comes out at her, and it's a homeless man who's decided that he likes how she looks, and he just has to immediately try and rape her. That is the scene. He tries to grab her and do what he wants. It's not a very successful attempt. She kicks him away quite easily, but he actually chases her after her, and like she has to like quickly like open the key in her gate, and she gets in and shuts it, and he's like, at the gate bang. I'm like, this is where she lives. This guy knows where she lives. He's living outside of her building. This is going to be a constant threat forever.
oh yeah.
But he's like a rabid dog. He doesn't even like try and talk to her first. He just immediately goes, "Oh, women! Oh, oh."
Yeah, it is kind of. I mean, like certainly, that is like in a real life scenario, it is scary. But I like in the movie just how over the top it is. Where like, yeah, again with this woman, it's like we've known her for like 20 seconds, and again, it's just like.
We should point out that before we even get the shoplifting part, there's a old man creepily looking at her through the window.
Oh, sure.
So everything in this woman's day is bouncing back and forth between perverse and other perverseness.
Yeah.
Perversity all over the place.
Yeah. It's tough.
I don't know, it's one of those weird, like this character, this homeless man definitely feels like he's out of a movie of this era. This type of just like instant, like, oh, he's seen a woman, so he must act like a dog.
Yeah, I think you got this a lot in like movies in the 80s, like especially like with like a lot of stuff set in New York, where there would always be like the grimy like dude just kind of like lurking like in the corner or something that would just like start like chasing someone like and also like should maybe mention like it's not like this is at night where she's like, walking
Oh
home
no,
by herself at
it's like
midnight. Like,
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
yeah.
It's broad daylight.
Now, I unless I'm forgetting, I don't really think that this crazed homeless man really gets any like comeuppance or anything.
No, he witnesses the murder and then he just disappears.
Yeah, yeah, like they make you think that like this is gonna be a plot point or something, but
Like
yeah,
either you think at least we'll get a scene of the killer killing him, just because he's a witness. So maybe the killer will get another murder
like
scene with him.
yeah, either that or you'll see like the police questioning him or something at some point. Like I
Yeah.
don't know.
So she gets slit with the razor blade as you do.
And I thought this was kind of cool. Like the killer rips pages out of the book and stuffs it in her mouth. Like
Mm.
this is kind of cool.
But of course, there's other murders too. And I think this is probably one of the least interesting murders. It's actually really well done. Like I really like the build up to it. It makes sense this was the first one because it kind of escalates after this.
Yeah.
The lesbian couple, when they get murdered, it's a really really good scene. Like that is because you get this shot like because the one who's mad at the other one is downstairs, and then the camera like goes up outside the building, up to the other window. It's got a nice slick sort of sense of movement to it. It's bouncing between them really well. And then the murders themselves, these are the two murders that tend to be used as the poster or the cover image. The first woman gets it's like the killer stabs her t-shirt because she's putting a t-shirt on, so the shirt's up in front of her face, and he slashes the shirt and she sees the killer through a window on her t-shirt, and then he like stabs her through it. It's a really nice little sort of layout of a scene.
Yeah, it like looked pretty cool. It was almost kind of like a POV shot like through the t-shirt, which it was cool.
Yeah, it was an inventive little kill, and then the other woman gets killed, and she ends up like hanging like off the side of the stairs with her head back and her hair's going down. And again, that's off in the poster. These two images are typically what the image will be on the poster. So for good reason, because it's a very very inventive, flashy scene.
Yeah, I have to look that up. I don't think I really looked too much at the cover.
Yeah, no, I think I've got a couple of covers on me. I've got the remastered Arrow Blu-ray of it.
Oh, nice.
So they give you a couple of options.
Yeah, I actually just watched this on Shudder, but it is available on there if people want to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same transfer, but the Blu-ray looks really nice.
Okay,
looks really really pretty. So
check that out.
So yeah, so we have the murder. We have obviously there's a big part of the movie is that we have the police investigation going on, and he's also a fan of the book, so he's also kind of a suspect. You've got the TV interviewer who is a big fan of the book and the author. He's kind of a suspect because he seems kind of obsessed. You have the ex-fiancée who's not supposed to be in Rome, but he keeps kind of thinking he sees her around. She's also a suspect. So we have all these characters around. And then there's other murders too. There's the daughter of the guy who owns the hotel who ends up kind of inadvertently, she kind of like ends up stumbling into the killer's lair almost.
She that's the one who's running away from the dog, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is like another just funny thing you see in like Giallo a lot, where it's like, yeah, nothing to do with the killer, but just for whatever reason, there's like this evil dog that's chasing her.
Yeah. And she ends up in the killer's lair, because the killer was taking photos after his murders of the crime scenes, and she finds all these photos and she runs out into the house, and you hear the killer go spy as you know. Yeah. Again, this whole chase sequence is very good. Like I feel like anytime it goes into a chase sequence, the way it's shot, the music is all very stylish. It all works. And
yeah, I think definitely I did notice the music in this part, which I did think stood out and was good.
Of course, Peter's trying to figure out who the killer is because of the notes that he's getting, and he ends up enlisting.
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if we mentioned it at this point, but he's kind of getting like taunted a little bit. Like he gets like a phone call from the killer and stuff. And
yeah. I think we mentioned he was getting the letters from the killer, but yeah, he gets a phone call at one point as well. He's looking into it. He's trying to figure it out, and he's got help. He's got his assistant Anne, who's sort of very friendly with him. It's kind of hinted that there might be a romantic connection here, but they've not really went down that path yet.
Yeah.
And then you have Gianni, who's like this guy that his agent, played by John Saxon, his agent has basically got to work for free just to like drive him around and do whatever.
And it's kind of funny because you have like half the characters are just like Peter, Jane, Annie, and then the other half are like Giorno, and like
That's because half of them are American and half of them are Italian.
yeah, I know.
I'm just saying, there's a reason for it. It's not that weird. But Peter thinks he's sussed out who the killer is. He thinks it's the TV interviewer, right? He thinks it's him. So they actually go to his house, and if you've been paying attention, you actually notice this looks like the same house that the girl died in. The one who was running from the dog. You're like, oh, is this it? And but then the interviewer gets killed because Gianni goes up to the window and looks in, and he sees the interviewer get killed. And this is another very giallo thing here, is that he just kind of blacks out like any memory of anything useful that he saw, and he's like, oh, I don't know, it all happened so fast. There was an axe murderer, but I didn't see anything or hear anything until later on when he goes back and looks at this crime scene again, and he's like, oh, wait a minute, the interviewer was the killer, but there's been more murders since then. There's a new killer.
Yeah. And this was he gets an axe to the head.
Yes,
if I remember correctly. Okay.
No.
What was that?
The TV interview gets an axe to the head.
Right, yeah.
That's what you were talking about. No, Gianni, after he figures this out, goes back to his car and then he gets strangled from behind.
Oh, right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, but it's, in all this chaos, right, so the ex-fiancée, who has had a bit of a weird relationship with Peter, she is in Rome, but it turns out the twist is, or I say twist, but she's having a relationship with the agent, with John Saxon's character, and they're together, and she's there for him. And then he's meant to meet her for lunch at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's broad daylight, the middle of like a very public like square, right? And you know, there's a good scene here because it builds up for a while where he's sitting there, he's waiting for her. There's a kid with a ball, and there's, you know, lots of things happening. And then someone comes up. He actually smiles. He recognizes who it is, and then gets stabbed by this person, and then runs off. And we think, oh, was that her? Was that this Jane, the ex-fiancée? Was it not? But then it looks like she arrived after that and then left, because there's this motif with the red shoes. You think that the red shoes are important, and you see her in the red shoes. And
it keeps, and at this point we've seen the flashbacks with like the big red high heels, right?
Yes. There's bizarre flashbacks, and we don't have any context for these until the end of the movie when we find out who it is. But there's flashbacks, again, sleazy, where this woman is with 4 men on a beach. There's no one else there, and she sort of starts to disrobe and kind of luring them in, and one of the men, however, does not like satisfy her or whatever, and she basically pushes him down and humiliates him, and her and the other 3 men beat him, basically. It's this humiliating, beating scene, right?
She shoves her like high heel, which is just this like beautiful like red that really like pops on the screen, and she's just like shoving it down his throat, which really, I don't know, kind of made me squirm for some reason. I don't know. It's just, oof.
And we get this scene again later on where like the same woman is like walking by a pool or something like that, and then there's a POV of someone coming out and then stabbing her, right? So there seems to be a revenge for that act. Whoever was humiliated then stabbed. And we find out at the end, of course, that is actually Peter himself. That Peter, after he discovered that the newsman was the killer, he became the killer, thinking he could probably blame it on him. He could blame the killings on whoever was doing the killings already. And he kills his agent. He then goes and kills, you know, as we're getting towards the end of the film, he goes and kills his ex-fiancée. This is the wonderful axe through the window scene, and then the arm like amputation.
This is just, it's just so bloody. It's just beautiful. And again, like just the, you know, the thing with Argento is just his colors just pop so well on screen. It's just like this, you know, bright white wall just being smothered in blood. It is so great.
And she like stumbles around for a bit with her arm cut off and then gets properly killed. And then that's when the detective shows up, and we actually find out, the camera comes up and we see it's Peter who's the killer here. And then the detective comes in with Anne, and it's like, he's figured it out. Like, it's you're the one who killed these last couple, and this is why. In fact, he ends up killing the female detective, like his partner, because she like shows up at the place first, and he axes her to death. So, and then when he's found out, he actually stumbles forward and then turns around and then slits his own throat with a razor blade. However, when they come back in later, the body's not there, and we find out that there was a trick razor blade that was spurting out fake blood. And then
Oh,
there's actually
little trickster.
there's a fantastic shot here where the detective was like, he's like, kind of like my shot here, and then he kneels down to like check something, and Peter's standing directly behind him, like he was perfectly framed in front of him, so that as soon as he moved, he could see him, but you couldn't see him before that. It was a really well done shot, and he kills him, and then the movie ends with Anne coming back, and during the kerfuffle before, there was like this fancy art sculpture like knocked against the door, and she like forces the door open, and the art sculpture fires a piece into Peter, which kills him, and that's the end of the movie.
It seems like kind of weirdly out of nowhere. Like it's a cool scene, but it is kind of like, oh wait, what?
I'll tell you what little detail I liked about this though is when he gets impaled with this sort of like, so it's like a metal spike almost, or not spike. It's like a metal cone.
Like kind of, yeah.
It's got more of a sort of circular thing to it. But I liked it when he's trying to like take it out when he's like dying. I like that his hands are too slippy with the blood, and his hands just keep moving like that. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was a nice little touch.
Yeah, it definitely looked really cool. And this is what I was talking about earlier with this whole reveal where it's like, oh no, like he's the killer. Like, yeah, I guess technically, there was another killer earlier and stuff. So that's kind of interesting, but it just always seems like kind of the least like interesting thing you can do when it's like, oh no, the main character was the killer all along. Like, I mean, admittedly, maybe this wasn't really a cliche yet, because it's like early '80s or whatever. But yeah, when I saw it, I was kind of like,
Well, Tim,
like,
it wasn't all along. It was only from about halfway through.
True.
We have to be distinct about this in this case.
But I mean, it's not like, I mean, like you said, like when you're coming to giallo movies, you're not really like there for the plot for the most part.
The plot is just kind of what it is, and it's kind of weird in places. And like I say, there's like after murders where like the cop and Peter will be chatting, and they'll be kind of like theorizing that because he's a horror writer and he does these murder mysteries where they're talking about it in the context of it being a murder mystery, and it's so casual and friendly, and it's just like no one seems to react like there's actually just been murders. It's just very bizarre in that sense, but.
Yeah, I do like the idea though of the like horror author. Like this is a very like big Stephen King trope.
Oh yeah.
Actually reminded me of a book actually read pretty recently of his The Dark Half, which is also about kind of like this big horror writer who is
fairly sure I saw the movie of that.
I actually just bought the movie. I haven't watched it yet. But I've heard it's not that great, but the book is really good. But it sucks because it is a Stephen King property being adapted by George Romero. You think it'd be a home run, but I heard it's just kind of like
Yeah, it was only like a mediocre. It was fine.
I'm looking forward to watching it though.
Yeah. So something I wanted to talk about specifically.
The lighting.
I was not. I'll come back to it. If it's important, I'll come back to it. We'll have you. Yeah, I think the pacing's pretty good. I don't think it sags too much.
No, it's a pretty brisk, like somewhere between 90, 100 minutes.
Yeah, it's about 100 minutes, and like I say, the kill scenes are all nicely, evenly spread out throughout the movie. They all take their time. They all have a nice big build up to the kill. So actually, here's the thing I want to talk about is the odd meta narrative with this, where early on in the film, the TV interviewer starts talking to him about his novel. He's like, "Oh, do you think your novels are sexist because of everything they do?" In fact, the one of the women in the lesbian relationship, who's also an interviewer, who seems to know him as well. That was the weird thing for me, is that when he greeted, what was her name? Oh, I can't remember. But when he greeted the person from the relationship that he knew, he seemed to know her already. Like he embraced her, he hugged her, he kissed her on the cheek, and then she's the one that's murdered second, and there's almost no reaction from him about the fact that she died. But anyway, so she questions at the start, "Oh, do you think your book's sexist because of this? The women are always the killed, and the men are always these masculine characters," and she's questioning all these things. And then the interviewer, the TV interviewer, also questions along some of these lines. And all I was thinking was, is this some sort of weird meta thing that he put in here because his films have been critiqued for these same issues? Which I think is funny when you think that the ending, it turns out to be that the writer is the killer. I don't know what he's saying about himself.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it would make more sense if this movie had come out later, because I feel like it seems like it'd be kind of like like this is like what 82 or something.
A2,
Or
yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. It seems like such an early time for people to be really thinking about that kind of like meta stuff and like really making big points about, I guess, like feminism and like horror and stuff. Like it feels like such an early time for
Well,
those discussions.
I feel like I think it was being discussed outside of the films at
Yeah.
the time. It may have been early for them for
Oh,
meta
okay.
narratives, but I think that was always a thing. As soon as like Halloween hit, I think we were, I think Siskel and Ebert, back in the day, were even talking about it a lot.
Oh, really?
When in their reviews about horror films. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting. I wonder if he put that in as oh, I keep getting shit for all this, so I'm going to put a character in here who turns out to be
He's
the
like,
killer. I don't know if he's maybe saying, yeah, stop harassing me about it, or I'll turn into a killer and kill you bastards. Leave me alone.
Yeah, that could have been maybe a fun, interesting thing to explore, but yeah, it doesn't really get brought up much anywhere else.
No, it doesn't. It kind of falls away as the movie goes on, but it stuck out to me at the start. But yeah, the movie looks really good. The kills are really good.
Yeah,
it's really stylish.
Yeah.
Music's good.
Yeah, no, I say again. I want to sound like I was too harsh on it. It's good. It's just not my favorite Argento, but it's definitely like up there with his stuff, and Giallo in general. If you like it, it's very entertaining movie, and yeah, like you said, it's it goes by pretty fast. It's not something I was bored during or anything.
All right, I will rate the movie out of 10 then. Timmy, what are you giving it?
Uh, I don't know. It's I hope it doesn't feel too low, but I think I'm gonna give it like a 7.5. Like again, there's a lot of good stuff, but it just wasn't really there for me for like that kind of upper echelon of stuff that I like. But I would definitely watch it again, and yeah, it's good.
I'm not even reading that much higher. I'm giving it a straight 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I think it's a fantastic example of a giallo movie. And all the pros that comes with that, all the cons that come with that.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of thing you just have to know what you're getting into. But no, very good. So that is Tenebrae. That has been an episode of Screams After Midnight on Tenebrae. Of course, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the show and the channel. There's a bunch of bonuses over there, like voting for a movie every month. You can do that, like this one was. You can also add movies to the Crypt, which is like a to-do list of movies that our patrons can add to. Everyone can look at the list of the Crypt movies, but only the patrons can add to it. So you can do that, and then of course if you want to support us in other ways, such as liking, subscribing, commenting, and let us know what you think, all that stuff. Watch the ads on YouTube, all that helps as well. So you can do that. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates if you want to support the channel. So that's us. So thank you. Thank you very much for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, guys. And we'll see you next time.